Okay, welcome back. We've reached the end of Doctor Who Flux. Chapter 6 was The Vanquishers. And I'm just gonna say it right now, that finale did not really work for me.
Really?
No.
Oh, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a good climactic conclusion. It felt very big, had a lot of good moments. I feel like I voiced a lot of concerns that there was too much stuff going on heading into this finale. But for some reason, I think this all tied it up very well. There's like one thing that I'm like mad about, and that was Kate Stewart. She was so disappointing in this episode. She had like 4 lines. I give it 4 lines max.
Yeah,
She was just in the background with this old guy. It was not good.
I agree with that, but that is nowhere near my biggest problem.
What are
Mainly,
your problems?
it's just way too overstuffed. Like, I think you were right in your concerns about there being too much to wrap up. This was so packed full that the whole thing had to move so fast that it was too much for me.
I think the reason it felt so packed to me is because in the beginning, or for like most of it, it was doing that thing where there were like 3 doctors, and they were all one, and that made it like packed and confusing for me.
I like that. I thought that was cool, especially when the doctor got to interact with herself and all that. But
yeah, I think I kind of did too, and I liked it. It was just a lot.
But the beginning of the episode moved so ridiculously fast. And the way it's like shot too, where they're like constantly like cutting unnecessarily. Like there's so many cuts. Kind of like the way I edit these videos. An excessive amount of cuts. I don't know what that was about. Like I said, it was moving really fast. But it kind of like regrouped and slowed down a little bit, if that's how you want to put it, eventually. But like you were saying before, there's so many things that they just left for this. The Grand Serpent, first of all. Who is he? He is some former dictator of what? He's some reptile race. We don't know what that is. I'm fine with the motivation that the Doctor seems to imply of like he's been exiled from where he was formerly ruling, and he's so used to that dictatorship, so he's using this flux as an opportunity to use the Centaurans to become like a ruler of Earth, because like he needs that. I think that's actually cool, and because the character's awesome, he's really well acted and everything. But because there's so much in this episode, like a bunch of other things, they do not have time to explore that and go back and tell us like who he was before. We don't get anything outside of the stuff we get in Once Upon a Time, so that was a letdown for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on how little we got, but that doesn't really bug me. I don't mind it. I still like really like him as a character, and like it's not a big deal to me at all.
And then like you were saying with Kate Stewart, that doesn't bother me as much as it seems to with you, that she didn't play a big role in the episode. I liked what we did see of her, but they couldn't linger on anything. They had to just zoom through every plot point. So, like the stuff with Kate, we didn't get to see like any sort of like reunion. And then with Yaz and Dan too, like in Revolution of the Daleks, she was gone for yet less than a year, and Yaz was like devastated by that. She couldn't deal with that at all. And here she was gone with 3 years. Not only that, but Yaz was away from home, like 100 years in the past, away from her family and everything, and that just seems to be glossed over, and everything's back to normal immediately when they get reunited. Again, They couldn't really linger on that because they didn't have time to do that.
Is it too early on to talk about Vinder and Bell?
No.
Alright, well then I'll go for it. If you couldn't tell, I really like these characters, and I've been waiting for them to meet. It was disappointing. That
What?
reunion, it was disappointing. It did not seem, I don't know. Maybe it was me setting it up too much in my head.
I can tell you why it was
but I wanted
disappointing.
them-
Want to know why? Because they couldn't focus on it, because they had way too much to do, and
Okay.
they're stuffing way too much in the episode.
I mean, maybe. I think I'm caring about these 2 characters much more than anyone else. It just didn't work.
That's a perfect
It's
example
just-
of what I'm talking about. Because they had 6 episodes to do this, they had to fit all this into this finale. There was no way that they could give the proper payoff to all the different things they were setting up. There just wasn't enough time. Let's talk about your other favorite character, Carvanista. I think he was one of the best parts of this episode. That was very unfortunate that his whole race was killed off.
That was insane. that all the Lupari died?
Yeah.
That's actual crazy.
And once again,
that's a whole species.
we didn't get to see any of that happen. They just said it, and then we had to go from there. But yeah, Carvanista was good. The performance was really good, and the devastation and all that. So the Santarans were back. I liked them. What I did really like was their whole plan to become the dominant force in the universe by getting their biggest enemies, because they were desperate because this Flux situation, and acting like they were going to help them and figure out a way out of it together, and then so that they could kill them all and stuff. And that was a smart plan. I like that.
I like that too.
What I don't understand is this is just so inconsistent. We talked about in War of the Santarans how she was so mad with that general guy for blowing up all those Santarans. In this episode, she literally commits genocide with the Santarans. She kills them all. They weren't gonna die. The Daleks and Cybermen were gonna die. The Santarans were gonna be fine. There was really no evil plan in that, other than maybe the Santarans would become more dangerous because they wouldn't have that other conflict that they'd have to deal with. But she killed them all, didn't she?
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Just kill them all.
So I don't understand why she was so mad last time, and now she's the one literally killing all of them, basically.
Because, Griffin, it's okay when she does it.
Oh.
But not when he does it.
Okay, that makes sense. Jericho's death was well done. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
That was
sad. I like that.
That was well done. I wish we would have seen what's going on with the planet. Right now, they've had a layer of alien ships layering the planet for I don't know how long now. And there's this flux going on right now that people must be aware of. Scientists or whatever are going to figure this out. And then the whole planet gets invaded by Santarans again. In War of the Santarans, you didn't get to have any repercussions for that, or any sense of how the people were affected by that. And now they're back again. We didn't get to see them interacting with Earth at all, so I wish we would have seen that. And then back to the unanswered question stuff. The Flux already destroyed a lot of the universe, right?
Yeah.
So why was there no acknowledgement of that or anything? The Doctor didn't seem upset by that.
That's a really good point, actually. How many species were just erased?
Yeah. What was going on with Diane? I do not like what happened there. There was no explanation for why she was kept alive inside the passenger in the first place. And then she ends up saving the entire universe. Out of all these characters we've had throughout the season, she's the one that comes up with the whole plan to capture the entire Flux inside of the passenger.
My theory is that they kept her alive just because they could hold her hostage.
But why? They had no need for that.
I don't know.
And Vinder asked her that, and her answer is they think I'm unimportant. That's her answer for why they kept her and killed everyone else. But she's not unimportant. Obviously not. She saved the entire universe. So, I guess she was right about that.
They should have. So, moral of the story is they just should have killed her.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my god, if they hadn't kept her alive, everything would have been perfect for them.
They would have won.
Oh my god.
That's a mistake.
That makes no sense.
Rookie mistake. They should write a book called Destroying the Universe for Beginners. Rule number 1.
Kill Diane.
Kill Diane.
And you mentioned last week how Swarm and Azor were kind of starting to become a disappointment. Basically, they were out for revenge. But I feel like the way they handled that was, fine. I'm able to buy that that's their motive. They're, crazy alien people. I don't know. But what was that whole personification of time who was, their savior?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's just time. It's wibbly
Why
wobbly
were they,
and it's timey-wimey.
Answering to that as, their leader? No explanation. So, yeah. I mean, there were some good moments in this episode, but for the most part, I was not a fan of this, I don't think.
I liked it a lot. That's it. I found it very interesting.
You're just fine. You're just fine with all the left unanswered questions and plot holes and stuff.
All right. There aren't that many.
Plot conveniences. I just listed them all.
Also, I often get bored. You know that, Griffin. I can get bored super easily. I was not bored once throughout this episode.
Yeah, I don't think you can say it's a boring episode. Okay, you gotta come up with something to end the video.
I don't just inherently have one. Subscribe, or else Diane is gonna ruin your plans of destroying the entire universe. And nobody wants that. Goodbye!